Andrew Morris woke up at 6:30 a.m. to the sound of his alarm clock. He instinctively reached for his wife, but the bed next to him was empty and cold. Lisa was already up, something unusual. She usually slept longer than him, taking her time in the mornings, sipping coffee, and scrolling through the news on her phone. From the kitchen came the sound of running water and clinking dishes. Andrew pulled on his sweatpants and walked out of the bedroom. Lisa stood at the sink, her back to him, washing a cup in brisk movements. Her hair was perfectly styled, and she wore a new navy blue business suit he had never seen before. "You're up early," Andrew said, heading for the coffee maker. "Meeting at 9 a.m. Jefferson's bringing in top people for the new project." Andrew poured himself a coffee and looked at his wife. The suit fit her flawlessly, accentuating her figure. He didn't remember them going shopping recently. "Nice suit," he said. "Thanks." Lisa wiped her hands with a towel, grabbed her handbag from the counter, and said, "I've got to go." She gave him a quick, formal kiss on the cheek and headed out the door. Andrew watched her leave, surprised that she hadn't had any coffee. Lisa never started the day without at least 2 cups. About 30 minutes later, the kids woke up. 17-year-old Michael, always quiet in the mornings, ate a quick breakfast and left for community college. 14-year-old Katie was more talkative. "Dad, why did Mom leave so early today?" she asked while spreading butter on her toast. "She had an important meeting." "She left early yesterday, too, and the day before that." Andrew paused. It was true. Lisa had been heading out much earlier than usual the past several days. But at the construction firm where she worked as a senior accountant, there was always plenty to do, especially now at the start of a new quarter. "Probably just a busy season," he said. Katie shrugged and went back to eating. That evening, Andrew returned home around 6:30 p.m. The kids were doing their homework. Lisa still wasn't home. He called her. "Hello?" Her voice sounded tense. Then the call cut off. She hadn't mentioned what time she'd be back. Normally, she always did so he could reheat her dinner. The kids finished their homework and went to their rooms. Andrew turned on the TV and waited. At 10:30 p.m., he heard keys in the door. Lisa entered quietly, took off her heels, and hung her purse on the hook. She looked tired, but not in the usual way after a long workday. She seemed tense. "How was your day?" Andrew asked. "Fine, just exhausted." She walked straight to the bathroom, without kissing him goodnight as she always used to. He heard water running, then the sound of her electric toothbrush. When she came out, Andrew was already in bed. "What's this project that's keeping you so busy?" he asked in the dark. "A high-rise complex, lots of subcontractors, complicated reporting." Her voice sounded sleepy, but Andrew could tell she was still awake. She lay motionless next to him, her breathing uneven. "How long will it last?" "Jefferson says at least a month or 2. Andrew reached to put his arm around her, but she turned away, facing the wall. He lay there thinking. Lisa had become distant lately. Maybe it really was just stress. Construction accounting could be a nightmare, especially in this competitive market. The next morning followed the same pattern. Lisa got up early, got dressed quickly, and left the house after barely saying goodbye. This time she wore a different business suit, gray, also new. Andrew was sure he hadn't seen it before. Over breakfast, Michael spoke up unexpectedly. "Dad, did Mom get a raise?" "Why do you ask?" "She bought new shoes yesterday. Expensive ones. They came in a fancy box." Andrew paused. Lisa hadn't mentioned a raise. The new clothes, the early departures, the late returns. It could all suggest extra responsibilities at work, and with that, extra income. That evening, he decided to ask her directly. "Lisa, did you get a raise?" She froze, a spoonful of soup halfway to her mouth. "What makes you ask?"
Mike noticed the new stuff you've been buying, and you've been working a lot more lately." "Oh, that!" She set the spoon down and smiled. "Yeah, Jefferson gave me a temporary bonus for the new project. If it all goes well, it could turn into a permanent raise." "That's great," Andrew said, genuinely. "How much extra?" $1,500 a month. "Not bad. Looks like all this hard work is paying off." Lisa nodded and went back to her soup. The conversation felt natural, but something about it bothered Andrew. Maybe the way she hesitated when he asked, or how quickly she gave a precise number, almost like she'd rehearsed it. Still, he pushed those thoughts away. Lisa had worked at the company for 5 years. Jefferson respected her as a professional. It made sense that with business growing, he'd give her more responsibility. Yet, as Andrew lay in bed that night, unease lingered. Something had changed, not just in Lisa's job, but in Lisa herself.
2 weeks passed since Lisa mentioned her raise. Her behavior continued to change, subtly at first, then more noticeably. She still left the house early and returned late, but now new habits emerged. First, the phone. Lisa had always been pretty casual with it, leaving it on the table or tossing it in her purse, not paying much attention to calls or texts. Now her phone was always with her. She brought it to the bathroom, the kitchen, even when taking out the trash. Whenever it buzzed, she grabbed it immediately and turned away from the family. "Work," she'd say simply when Andrew raised an eyebrow. Second, her appearance. Lisa had always taken care of herself, but lately it bordered on obsessive. She started going to a high-end beauty salon, getting her nails done weekly instead of monthly. She bought new cosmetics, foreign, expensive brands. Andrew noticed it one day while looking for his razor. "Where'd these creams come from?" he asked, examining a jar with a name he didn't recognize. "Girls at work recommended them. It's supposed to be amazing." "Must be pricey." "Not really. Besides, I can afford it now." That was technically true. Their budget had become a little looser, but Andrew couldn't figure out why Lisa suddenly needed to overhaul her beauty routine so dramatically. The third change was the criticism. Lisa began picking at him, his clothes, his job, even the way he ate. "Andrew, can you please buy a decent shirt already?" she said one morning as he buttoned up his favorite plaid shirt. "What's wrong with this one?" "It's old. The color doesn't suit you." "I like it." "You like a lot of things," she scoffed. "Doesn't mean they're right for you." Andrew said nothing, but her words stung. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw a clean, pressed shirt. Nothing wrong with it. These comments became regular. She criticized his shoes, his haircut, his table manners. But the worst was when she mocked his work. "How long are you going to keep tinkering with pipes?" she snapped one evening as he talked about a difficult apartment plumbing job. "Can't you find something more respectable?" "It's a job. The pay's decent. The team's good." "Decent? What does that even mean?" Her voice was edged with contempt. "You know people can earn more, if they actually try." "I am trying." "Not enough." The kids stayed silent during these exchanges. Andrew saw how Katie would tense up whenever her parents started bickering. Michael usually stood up from the table and left without a word. One night, after another late evening at work, Katie came up to Andrew. "Dad, what's going on with Mom?" "What do you mean?" "She's angry all the time. Always yelling at us." Andrew pulled his daughter into a hug. "She's under a lot of stress at work right now." "She always had a lot of work before, but she never yelled like this." Katie was right. Lisa had become increasingly irritable, especially with the kids. She would snap at Katie for leaving books on the couch or yell at Michael for playing his music too loud. "Mom, "Why are you so uptight lately?" Michael asked one afternoon as she scolded him for a dirty dish in the sink. "I'm not uptight. I'm just tired of being the only one cleaning around here." "I always clean up." "Not always, and I'm sick of being the maid in my own house." Andrew stepped in. "Lisa, what's going on?" "Mike is right. He always cleans up after himself." "Oh, great. Now you're taking his side?" She turned on him. "Maybe you should start earning real money before giving me lectures." A heavy silence filled the kitchen. Michael stormed off to his room, slamming the door. Katie burst into tears and ran to hers. "Why would you say that?" Andrew asked quietly. "Say what?" "That I don't earn real money? We've never struggled financially." "We haven't struggled, but we haven't lived either. Look around you. Look how normal people live." "We're not normal?" Lisa didn't answer. She grabbed her phone and went to the bedroom. Andrew stayed in the kitchen, trying to understand what was happening to his family.
A few days later, the same scene played out again. Lisa came home in a bad mood and started snapping over small things. Andrew tried to calm her down, but it only made her angrier. "You just don't get it," she said sharply. "You don't understand anything. You sit in your little world of wrenches and water heaters and think this is how life is supposed to be." "And what? What's it supposed to be instead?" "Better. People grow, Andrew. They evolve. And you—" She didn't finish the sentence, but Andrew knew exactly what she meant. He hadn't evolved. He hadn't climbed the ladder or reinvented himself. He had stayed where he was, doing what he loved, working as a plumber, fixing homes, taking care of this family. At least he thought that was enough. Until now. Andrew began noticing things he hadn't before. In the pocket of Lisa's coat, he found a receipt from The Vista, a high-end restaurant downtown. The bill was steep. That evening, when Lisa got home, he showed it to her. "What's this?" Lisa glanced at the receipt and shrugged. "Company dinner last week. Jefferson invited the senior team." "Thursday, right? You said you were working late." "Well, we worked late. Then we had dinner. Discussed the project more informally." "Pretty pricey for a company dinner." "Jefferson paid. He can afford it." Her explanation made sense on the surface, but something about her tone bothered Andrew. Too quick, too neat. Normally, Lisa would go into detail about office events, who said what people wore, what the food was like. This time, nothing. A few days later, Lisa announced she had to go on a business trip. "Where to?" Andrew asked. "State Capitol. Meeting with investors on the new project." "For how long?" 2 days, maybe 3. Andrew was surprised. In 5 years at the firm, Lisa had only been on a couple of trips and never overnight. Accountants usually didn't travel for client meetings. Why would an accountant need to meet with investors? "I'm not just an accountant anymore. Jefferson asked me to oversee the financial structure of the project. I have to explain the numbers, the tax implications." That also sounded plausible. Lisa really was a skilled accountant, especially when it came to tax law. For a large project, it wasn't crazy to have her there. She left early Monday morning with a small suitcase and came back Wednesday evening. She looked refreshed, even younger. Her hair was styled differently. Her nails painted a bold new color. "How was the trip?" Andrew asked. "Productive. The investors liked our financial plan." "Where'd you stay?" "In a hotel near the investor's office. It was convenient." She even showed him pictures on her phone of the hotel room, the view from the window, the restaurant where they had dinner. Everything looked normal for a business trip. But when Lisa went to take a shower, Andrew opened her suitcase to help unpack, and there, neatly folded under her clothes, was a set of lace lingerie he had never seen before. Pricey, delicate, sexy. Why would she bring that to a business trip? 2 weeks later, she went on another trip. Then another. Soon she was traveling almost every week, always for work, always with convincing reasons. The project is expanding. We're not just working with the city anymore. We're handling accounts across the whole state. Lots of meetings. The kids started to notice her absences. Mom never used to go anywhere. Now she's always away. She has a big job, Andrew explained. You'll understand when you're older. But even he was beginning to feel like Lisa wasn't really living with them anymore. She was either gone or glued to her phone, answering emails or messages. Their evenings together disappeared. No more movie nights. No long talks about weekend plans. Even their sex life faded away. When Andrew tried to get close to her in bed, she gently pushed him away. "I'm exhausted," she'd whisper. "Let me rest." Andrew never insisted. He understood how draining work could be, but deep down, he sensed that her fatigue wasn't just physical. Lisa had pulled away from him emotionally, especially on weekends. Saturdays and Sundays used to be family time, park visits, day trips, even just relaxing at home. Now, Lisa found reasons to leave. "I've got to go into the office," she'd say Saturday mornings. "There's a report Jefferson needs first thing Monday." "It's the weekend." "Exactly. Better to finish it now than work all day Monday." Sometimes she came back late in the evening. Other times she didn't return at all, claiming she had to stay overnight at her coworker's place. "Lena and I are sorting documents. It's too late to drive home. I'll just crash at her place and finish early in the morning." Andrew didn't know any Lena from her office, but he didn't ask. Maybe she was a new hire on the project. One Sunday, Andrew decided to surprise Lisa at the office and bring her lunch. He thought it might be nice to eat together, at least at work. But when he arrived at the building, the security guard shook his head. "No one's here today. Building's locked. It's Sunday." "What about Lisa Morris?" "Nope, nobody's inside." He called Lisa. "Hey, where are you? I stopped by the office, but it's empty." "I'm not there." "Lena and I are working from her place. It's quieter." "Can you send me the address? I brought lunch." "No need, we already ate, and I really need to focus. This is complicated stuff." Then she hung up. Andrew stood outside the office building, holding a container of homemade soup. And for the first time in 18 years of marriage, he knew. His wife was lying to him.
Andrew couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. But every time he tried to bring it up, Lisa would turn the conversation against him. She'd accuse him of not trusting her. She'd cry and say she was under too much pressure. She'd act sweet and affectionate, promising things would get better. "You don't trust me," she said one evening when he asked why she'd come home so late again. "We've been together 18 years, Andrew, and now you think I'm lying?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she sat at the edge of the bed, burying her face in her hands. "I'm working my ass off for this family. I bring in more money than ever, and all I get is interrogation." "I wasn't interrogating you," Andrew said, confused. "I just asked." "Just asked?" she snapped. "Where were you? Who were you with? Why so late? That's not asking, Andrew. That's control." "I'm just worried about you." "Then support me," she said, looking up at him with glassy eyes. "Understand that this is hard. I got a promotion, more responsibility. I'm trying to prove I deserve it." Andrew sat beside her and put his arm around her. "I'm sorry, you're right. I should be supporting you, not starting fights." Lisa leaned into him, and for a moment, it felt like old times. He could smell the familiar scent of her hair. Her voice softened. "I just need a little time. This project means everything for my career. Please, just be patient." "Of course," Andrew whispered. I'll be patient." But a few days later, the same pattern returned. Lisa worked late. She didn't answer calls. She came home exhausted, distant, and cold. When Andrew asked what was going on, she snapped again. "There you go again. I told you it's a tough phase at work, but instead of helping me, you'd rather accuse me of God knows what." "It's not about accusations. It is. You just can't deal with the fact that your wife is more successful than you. This isn't about money or success." "Oh, isn't it?" she shouted. "You're threatened because I earn more than you, because I'm being recognized, because someone finally sees my potential. You hate it." Andrew stood silent, stunned by her words. Part of him knew there was some truth in them. He did feel insecure about her rapid transformation. But that wasn't the problem. It wasn't about her career. It was that she was drifting away from him and lying about it. "I'm happy for your success," he said quietly. "Then prove it. Stop watching me like a hawk." After fights like these, Lisa would often swing the other direction. She'd be warm, even tender. She'd cook Andrew's favorite meals, ask about his job, kiss him goodnight. And every time he wanted to believe that maybe things were turning around. "Maybe we just need time," she said one night as they lay in bed. "I know I've been distant lately. Work has taken over, but the project will wrap up soon. Then we'll have more time together." "Really?" "Of course. We'll go somewhere, just the two of us. Maybe finally take that vacation. The kids are old enough. Mike's in college, Katie's in high school. They can handle a few days without us." Andrew smiled. A getaway was exactly what they needed. "Where should we go?" "I don't know yet. I'll think about it." But the following week, Lisa came home with news that the project had been extended by 2 more months. "The investors want to expand into other counties. It's a huge opportunity. Jefferson said if I handle this well, I might get promoted to finance director." Andrew nodded, but deep down he felt a crack. It wasn't just the vacation that was off the table. It was the future he thought they were building together. The kids sensed it too. Katie became withdrawn, spending hours in her room. Michael stayed out late more often. "Where were you?" Andrew asked one evening when Michael got home at nearly 10 p.m. "At the gym with some friends." "Till 10? Why not? Mom works till 10. There was pain in his voice, quiet but sharp. Andrew realized his son was hurting too, and this was his way of coping. "Mom's working, you're just hanging out." "We're not stupid, Dad. We see what's going on." "What do you mean?" Michael just shrugged and went to his room. But his words lingered. Later that night, when Lisa was once again working late, Andrew sat down with Katie. "How's school?" "Fine." "And with Mom, everything okay?" Katie looked up, her eyes full of sadness well beyond her years. "Dad, do you really not see it?" "See what?" "That she's changed. She's not Mom anymore. Not really." "Don't say that. She's just stressed. It'll pass." "It's not stress. She doesn't love us anymore. She doesn't love you either." The words hit Andrew like a punch to the gut. He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Deep down, he knew. Katie was right. Lisa's lies were no longer deniable. They needed to be faced.
The next morning, Lisa left her phone on the kitchen counter before heading to the shower. It was the first time in weeks she hadn't taken it with her. Andrew hesitated. He had never gone through her things. It felt wrong. But something in his gut pushed him forward. He picked up the phone. It was locked.
Lisa had never used a password before. He tried their wedding anniversary. No luck. Katie's birthday. Nothing. Michael's birthday. Still locked. Then he heard the water stop. He quickly put the phone back in place and grabbed a newspaper, pretending to read. Lisa came out in her robe, casually picked up the phone, and immediately checked for notifications. Andrew saw her shoulders tense. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Just work," she muttered, and tossed the phone into her purse. She didn't take it out again that night. The next day, Andrew did something he never thought he would. He took the day off and drove to Lisa's office, or rather, to the building where her company was located. He didn't plan to spy. He told himself he just wanted to see for sure, to be done with doubts. He parked across the street from the office entrance. At around 7 p.m., employees began leaving. Andrew recognized a few from the company website, but Lisa never came out. By 7:30 p.m., the building was dark. Even the security guard had left. Lisa was still at work. Andrew called her. "Hey, how's it going? Are you coming home soon?" "Still at the office," she said. "Should be here until around 9. We're buried in reports." "Is there a whole team with you?" "Yeah, a few people stayed. We're all trying to wrap this up." Andrew stared at the dark, empty building. "Okay," he said quietly. "Don't overwork yourself." "I'll try. Love you." "Love you too." He sat in the car another half hour. No one else came out. No lights turned on. The building remained completely silent. That night, Lisa came home just before 10. She looked exhausted. "How was it?" as he asked as she kicked off her heels. "Brutal. These reports are killing me." "Who stayed late with you?" "Lena, Steve from the planning department, a couple others." Her voice was calm. No hesitation. No signs of guilt. If Andrew hadn't been outside that building, he might have believed her. "Want some tea?" he asked. "No thanks. I'm going straight to bed." She kissed him on the cheek and disappeared into the bedroom. Andrew sat at the kitchen table long after she was asleep, staring into the dark. Lisa had lied to his face, smoothly, comfortably. The next opportunity came a few days later. Lisa told him she had a supplier meeting at Old Town Cafe, a cozy spot in the downtown business district known for hosting work lunches and meetings. Andrew knew the place well. He drove there at the time she said the meeting would take place and walked through the cafe, checking every table. Lisa wasn't there. He called her. "How's the meeting going?" "Great. We're discussing delivery terms now." "At Old Town Cafe?" "Yeah, why?" "No reason. I was just passing nearby. Thought about dropping by to say hi." "Don't. We're in the middle of negotiations. It's not the right time." "Sure. See you at home." He hung up. Andrew walked through the cafe one more time. No sign of her. No table set up for a business meeting. Nothing. That evening, he didn't say a word about it. He simply watched her. How she laughed over dinner. How she asked about his day. How she acted like nothing was wrong. He didn't recognize her anymore. Lisa had once been an honest woman. Even when she lied about something trivial like buying new makeup or forgetting an appointment, her eyes would flicker. She'd blush. She wasn't a good liar. Now, she was a master. That night in bed, Andrew turned to her and said, "I feel like we're growing apart." "What makes you say that?" "We barely talk. You're always working or thinking about work." "I told you this is a tough period. It'll get better." "When? This project's been going on forever." Lisa turned to him, annoyed. "You want me to quit? Go back to the old salary?" "No, you just can't handle the fact that I have ambition, that I don't want to stay stuck in the same life forever." That's not what I meant. You liked it better when I was the quiet housewife. Now that I have goals, you're uncomfortable. And just like that, the conversation was hijacked again. The same cycle. Lisa accusing him of insecurity, him apologizing, her reminding him she was working for them. But Andrew finally understood. This wasn't about her career. This was about lies.
Andrew took another personal day from work and told his manager he had some family issues to take care of. That wasn't a lie. His family was falling apart. That morning, he kissed Lisa goodbye as she fixed her makeup by the front door. She was in a great mood, even humming to herself. "Big meeting today," she said cheerfully. "Jefferson wants to discuss expanding the project. I might be home late." "Hope it goes well," Andrew replied, watching her walk out the door. He waited until the kids left for school. Then he got in his car and drove. Not to work, but to the address he had memorized from the last time he'd followed Jefferson, Lisa's boss. Jefferson had pulled up to a luxury condo in one of the city's most upscale neighborhoods. Andrew had watched him enter with a small overnight bag. Now, parked across the street, Andrew waited again. At 9:30 a.m., Jefferson emerged from the condo and got into his car. Andrew followed at a distance, feeling his heart hammering in his chest. Jefferson drove to the same building Andrew had seen before. A few minutes later, a cab pulled up, and Lisa stepped out. She wasn't wearing her usual office clothes. Instead, she wore a fitted dress, makeup done more boldly than usual, and heels she only put on for special occasions. She looked like a woman going on a date, not to a business meeting. She entered the same condo building. Andrew sat in his car for a full hour, staring at the building, his thoughts racing. Then he picked up the phone and called her. "Hey," Lisa answered. Her voice was relaxed. "How's the meeting?" "Still going. Jefferson's walking me through the investor documents." "How long do you think it will take?" "Hard to say. Maybe until evening." "All right. Good luck." "Thanks. Love you." She said it smoothly, without even a pause. She was lying to him while standing in another man's apartment. That evening, Andrew pretended to have a headache and went to bed early. Lisa came home close to 11 p.m., tired and irritated as usual. "How was the meeting?" he asked from the bedroom. "Long. We went over a lot of material. Didn't get through everything. Picking it up tomorrow." She climbed into bed and turned away from him, just like she had done so many nights before. Andrew stared at the ceiling in the dark. The truth was undeniable now, but it wasn't enough to just know. He needed to see.
The next day, Andrew followed her again. This time, she had told him she might even spend the night at Lena's place because they had to finish a presentation. "Only if it runs late," she had added casually. At 2 p.m., Andrew parked in front of the condo. Jefferson hadn't arrived yet. Lisa showed up first. At 3 p.m., Jefferson pulled in and entered the building with her. Andrew gave them half an hour, then stepped out of his car. His hands were shaking. He walked up to the entrance, studied the name next to the buzzer, Unit 4B, T. Peters. Probably a fake name. Or a rented unit under an alias. He rang the bell. Voices, shuffling inside, then silence. He rang again. A man's voice came from behind the door. "Who is it?" "Maintenance. Upstairs neighbor says you've got a leak coming through the ceiling." "A leak? We're fine down here." "Need to check. Tenant report." More whispering, footsteps. Then the door cracked open. Jefferson stood there in a robe and slippers. Just behind him, Lisa darted out of view. Andrew stared into Jefferson's face. "I'm Lisa's husband," he said calmly, and pushed the door open. Jefferson tried to stop him, but Andrew was faster. He stepped inside.
Lisa stood in the hallway wearing nothing but a robe, her hair messy, her face pale with panic. "Andrew, this isn't what you think." "Shut up," he said quietly. Jefferson moved to intervene. "Let's talk about this like adults." Andrew punched him square in the face. Jefferson crashed backward into the wall. "Andrew, stop!" Lisa screamed. But Andrew wasn't listening. 18 years of marriage, 2 kids, thousands of days and nights together. It was all a lie, all broken, and now the truth stood naked in front of him. Jefferson tried to get up. Andrew kicked him in the stomach, sending him doubling over. "Get out," Andrew growled. "Get dressed and get the hell out. If I ever see you near my wife again, I swear I will destroy you." Jefferson staggered into the bedroom. Lisa stood frozen, sobbing, still clutching her robe. "Please, Andrew, let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been screwing your boss while I took care of our kids?" "It wasn't like that." "Really? Because it looks exactly like that." Jefferson emerged, hastily dressed, and grabbed his jacket. "Wait," Andrew said coldly. Jefferson stopped at the door. "If you ever say a word about this to anyone, if you even think about getting back at me or my family, I will find you, and I will ruin you." Jefferson nodded and slipped out the door.
Lisa stood trembling, pulling her robe tighter around herself, her face streaked with tears. "It just happened," she whispered, avoiding his eyes. "Jefferson understood me. He saw me. At home, I felt invisible. You stopped seeing me." Andrew looked at her like she was a stranger. "I stopped seeing you," he said quietly. "I worked, I paid bills, I raised our kids, while you played dress-up for your boss. It wasn't like that. No, you weren't having an affair. You weren't lying to my face every single day for the past 3 months." She didn't answer. Instead, she bent down to pick up her dress with shaking hands. "I never meant to hurt you. Jefferson offered me more than a job. He gave me a future, a chance to be something." "You were something," Andrew said, his voice cold. "You were my wife, the mother of our children. You had a family." Lisa started sobbing. "It was just 3 months. Please, let's talk about this. We can fix it. I'll leave him. I'll quit the job. I'll find something else." Andrew stood there in silence. "No," he said finally. "Get dressed. We're going home." The drive was silent. Lisa sat curled in the passenger seat, crying quietly. Andrew stared at the road, his hands gripping the steering wheel like a vice. At home, he said only one sentence. "Pack your things. You're leaving tomorrow." "Andrew, please." "Tomorrow." She went into the bedroom and locked the door. Andrew sat at the kitchen table, trying to find the words. He didn't know how to tell the kids. That afternoon, when Michael and Katie got home, they immediately sensed something was wrong. "Dad?" Katie asked. "What happened?" Andrew motioned for them to sit. "There's no easy way to say this, but your mom has been seeing someone else. We're getting a divorce." Michael stared at the floor, jaw clenched. Katie burst into tears. "I knew it," she sobbed. "I told you she changed. I told you." Andrew pulled her into a hug, barely holding himself together. The next morning, Lisa tried again. She looked wrecked. Eyes swollen, hands trembling, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, Andrew, think about the kids. They need their mother." "They needed you 3 months ago, when you were lying to them, lying to me." "I made a mistake. People make mistakes." "No," he said coldly. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. What you did destroyed this family." "I'll end it. I'll leave Jefferson. I'll work somewhere else." "It's too late." Andrew helped carry her suitcase to the cab. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains, but he didn't care. "Where are you going?" he asked. "To my sister's." I'll file for divorce tomorrow. Lisa nodded. She didn't cry anymore. Maybe she had no tears left. And the kids? She asked. They're staying with me. You still have rights. They'll decide if they want to see you. The cab pulled away. Andrew turned and walked back into the house, which suddenly felt massive and empty.
The weeks that followed were heavy. Michael withdrew even more, often staying late at school or at a friend's house. Katie clung to Andrew, like she was afraid he'd disappeared too. Andrew took on everything: cooking, laundry, homework, grocery runs. Work took a back seat. His boss understood and gave him flexible hours. Lisa called almost every day, asking to talk to the kids. Andrew didn't forbid it, but they rarely wanted to answer. She betrayed us all, Michael said. Why should I talk to her? Katie was even harsher. I hate her, she said. She killed our family. A month later, Lisa showed up outside the house. Andrew saw her from the window. She looked thinner, older, worn out. He went outside to meet her. I want to talk to the kids, she said. They don't want to see you. Andrew, I lost everything. Jefferson dumped me after you showed up. He said he doesn't want drama. I lost the job, too. I'm working at a small firm now, part-time, barely getting by. I'm sorry, Andrew said, though he didn't mean it. I thought I was choosing a better life, she whispered, but it was a fantasy. I gave up my family for nothing. Andrew didn't answer. Can you tell the kids that I love them, that I'm sorry? I'll tell them, he said. She turned and walked away. Back inside, Katie and Michael were at the kitchen table doing homework. Your mom came by? Andrew said. Neither of them looked up. She wanted me to tell you she loves you and that she's sorry. Katie didn't say a word. Michael kept writing, but Andrew could tell his hands were shaking. That night, after they went to bed, Andrew sat in the quiet kitchen staring at his phone as Lisa's name lit up the screen. He didn't answer. He turned the phone off. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some mistakes can't be undone. And sometimes, love doesn't survive betrayal.